around those lines to ensure that there is life. We don't have ghost towns everywhere. So that was also supported by Oxfam. And in the current phase, some of the studies that we receive here is we are also looking at the current country experiences in terms of initiatives to optimize mineral revenues. How have other countries looked at this whole issue of mineral revenue, and what are some of the challenges that emanate from that? And this is part of the discussion that we had this morning, and Madam Elena here will take us through that. Then the other element that we are also looking at with the support from Oxfam is to look at the whole issue of community share ownership trust. With the changes in the indigenization law, what's going to happen with the community share ownership? Are they going to fall away? And are those benefits that we expected going to fall away? So we want to see what are the permutations that are happening within the community share ownership scheme, and what lessons can we draw from that? And also just to understand the status where they were. This is still work in progress, and I think by June we'll be done with this one, and we'll also be inviting you to that one as well. But for today, we'll listen to two presentations, the one on the country experiences and the policy brief on the Caledonian case study in terms of government revenues for mining, a case study of blended mining. Ladies and gentlemen, this in brief is what we will be focusing on today, and the whole objective is to validate some of the findings that we have, also get insights from yourselves from where you are coming from. I liked Mr. Awari when he introduced himself and said that a geoscientist. Indeed, he is a geoscientist.
I'd like to thank ZEPARU for convening this space and participants for taking their time to come and share their knowledge and experiences on the experiences to optimize revenue collection in ZEPARU. As Oxfam, I think we believe in domestic resource mobilization is key to revive any country's economy. And as you see, our Ministry of Finance are taking moves such as rebasing the country and increasing taxes, for instance, to 2%. We want to look at other alternative areas where we should be looking at in terms of revenue collection, and that is the mining sector, which we feel is one of the biggest contributors to the tax base as well.
I'll start with the rationale of the study, where we are interested in undertaking issues to do with optimization of revenue, and then I'll go on to the challenges in the optimization of mineral revenue collection in Zimbabwe. I'll move on to the institutional and regulatory frameworks, some bottlenecks which are currently hindering the country, and then I'll move on to the models or initiatives which are used in mineral revenue tracking in other countries, and then I'll end with the concluding remarks. In terms of why we are interested in the study, we are saying revenue optimization is very critical in Zimbabwe because although in literature, Zimbabwe sometimes it's regarded as a country which is not a mineral resource-rich country, but if you look at the number of minerals that are in existence in Zimbabwe, we are saying 40 minerals have been historically exploited in Zimbabwe, of which, like some studies, they say Zimbabwe has got about 60 minerals. So we believe minerals, they are finite, these are depletable resources, so they should be used so that they can also benefit the future generation. We also believe that the mineral revenues, they catalyze economic development, and if the revenue is optimized, we believe that it can be used to reduce poverty and the issues of socio-economic development aspirations of the country, they can be achieved. The issue of also citizens being able to hold the mining companies and the government accountable if there is some kind of revenue tracking is also important for the country. So failure to track revenue, we believe that it brings some kind of mistrust between the communities and also the companies. The communities, they think companies, they are not contributing enough to the economy, but the companies, they will say the government, they are continuously increasing taxes such that they end up not benefiting. So if we take revenue, that means trust will be broken down. So it's the issue of being able to support the development of the economy. So we believe that mineral revenue optimization, it can be used as a game changer to the economy. And also the issue of the disclosure of rules is also critical, as it also enhances issue of maybe investors. When there is disclosure of revenue, there is also confidence in investors when they consider different economies. They also consider those things of issues to do with the disclosure framework. If we also look at the issue of the living standards in Zimbabwe, if we compare with the average of the sub-Saharan Africa, the Human Development Index for Zimbabwe is below that of sub-Saharan Africa. That's the same for the gross national income. So some people might think the mining sector is not contributing enough to spur the growth of the economy in Zimbabwe. In terms of the objectives of the study, basically we want to look at the issues and challenges with regards to the optimization of revenue, the issue of the reviewing the institutions and also the regulatory framework to see if there are any bottlenecks that in the optimization, and also to try and see, to learn from other countries, how other countries have managed to track revenue, and also through the issues of the revenue disclosure frameworks, and try to apply those issues to the Zimbabwean economy to see how Zimbabwe can also follow suit and try to track revenue. Basically, these issues, they are kind of, some of the issues you might think maybe they are not really directly related to mineral revenue optimization, but we believe if there are any challenges in the economy, it will affect the production in the country and also the revenue that is generated. So the challenges, they are really cross-cutting, and there are a number of challenges highlighted in the study. And the issue of low capacity utilization, this is not only an issue which relates to the mining sector. And the issue of, we said Zimbabwe has got 40 minerals which have been exploited, but at the moment, only about 4 minerals, they contribute about 83% of total mineral revenue. So even if we say we have the minerals, but at the moment some of the minerals are not being exploited, as we are only over-relying on minerals like gold, platinum, chrome. These are like some of the dominant minerals which we are focusing on at the moment, at the expense of other minerals. And also the issue of the decline in the ore grade for the majority of the gold mines in Zimbabwe is also a challenge. After having gone through the various disclosure frameworks of all the modules which are used by the different mining jurisdictions, we can say that Zimbabwe has already indicated its intention to join the ITI. So what is required at the present moment is maybe we could borrow from the way the others have done it. Like you find that if the process of trying to join the EITI, what is required now after the announcement of to say, okay, we are willing to join EITI, what is required is to come up with an EITI secretariat which can be like set up locally, and also a multi-stakeholder group which can actually come up, like the group can actually comprise of representatives from the government, the civil society, the private sector, and these are like required to craft or to try to domesticate what is required at that international level, so that at least the country can start to move in terms of if we are moving towards the EITI. And also there is need for the EITI monitoring and evaluation, just to make sure that the things are on track. And there's also need for the government to, under the EITI, to publish the revenue that is received under the extractive industry. So we believe actually it's not just the mining companies which are supposed to disclose, even the government, they should also disclose the revenue that they got from the companies, so that at least the citizens, they can actually hold the government accountable, or at least try to verify if what is reported by the mining companies is in tandem with what is reported by the government.
In terms of the first complying with the Indigenous and Economic Empowerment Act, it was owned, I'm saying it was owned 49% by blanket mine, 49% by Caledonia, and then 10% by the Rwanda Community Share Ownership Trust, 10% by the Blanket Employee Trust, that is BETS. Then we also had the Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Fund, which was actually the fund that was controlled by the National Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Board, NIC. It has 16%, and then there was also another indigenous company called Fremio, which had 15%. In terms of availability of data, Caledonia actually, because it's listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, it is required to disclose annual financial data, as well as to provide detailed forecast on its future productions. So now, this study in 2016 was centered on indigenization compliance, as well as safeguard measures that can be done to ensure that government gets optimal benefits to government as well as the indigenous shareholders. But then what happened is, the new dispensation came into place. The first thing that they did was they changed the indigenization framework through the Finance Act of 2018, and they say now only gold, only diamond and platinum minerals are going to be subject to the Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Act. So what the consultant, in this case, who is based in Canada, who had done the initial study, was asked to do was to update this study, taking into account that only platinum and diamond were relevant. So what he did when he was doing the 2018 study, which was entitled Government Revenues from the Blanket Mine, an update on payments to government and indigenization partners. That was the study that was done in 2018. So it is this study that was done in 2018, this updated, which was mostly an update to the previous study, on which we are going to try to summarize what are the key issues coming through and what are the policy recommendations.
The idea of transparency is very much welcome. But sometimes I think the politicians may want to find out who is EITI, who is actually responsible. Because from this idea came from a long time back. I remember in 2012, when we were negotiating for this Kimberley process certification scheme, America was actually encouraging Zimbabwe to join EITI when they were not even members. Now, they demonstrated by joining, you said, in 2014, but also left in 2017. Maybe we would like to find out why they left. But the actual issue is who is EITI? How does it operate? At that time, we the way I understood it was that it was some kind of body whereby government reports to it, industry reports to it, and that's how the transparency come about. I don't know from this study how they found whatever issues they've sorted, how they are operating as EITI, because it's important to find out who runs it and how it operates.
She highlighted that 4 minerals contribute 82% of the revenue collection at the moment. I think we need to, like, in order for us to optimize revenue collection, we need to look at our institutions. Firstly, like, I'll give you an example. Before we go any further, the institutions like Ministry of Mines, there are issues which we need to consider for the performance of the revenue collection. That is their systems working correctly for the revenues to be collected? Firstly, was like now you can see from where I'm standing as a miner, you find we've got, as a miner, we've got a huge task with the Ministry of Mines. So in that regards, for the government to benefit, it has to consider the systems of the ministry to say, is it really working? Because if it is not working, there is no revenue.
And when we look at the issue of the disclosure requirements in terms of mineral revenues from companies, I get the sense that, or the feeling that it's difficult for government to get data from mining companies. And when we're hearing about blanket money, because it's under Caledonia, which is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, is it? You say it's the Toronto Stock Exchange which has those disclosure requirements. So this is a stock exchange. It's not the government of Canada. It's just the Toronto Stock Exchange which has those disclosure requirements. And these guys, for them to ensure that they continue to be listed, they comply. Now, I then get a bit worried that a stock exchange can cause a company to comply with the disclosure requirements, but a whole government cannot cause companies which are operating in their economy to comply with the disclosure requirements.
Previously, we had, the previous government at some time had talked about the ZMRTI, that is Zimbabwe Mining, what's that? The Transparency Initiative. So that was more of a homegrown initiative based on EITI. So I think there should be some discussion of that.
Okay.
Because people are likely to be more comfortable with ZMRTI than with EITI. And if they have similar objectives, then we can consider, policy being closer to that. And I think that my friend from the private sector has made a very passionate statement. But I think that just to give him some comfort. So I think about 18 months ago, the government of Zimbabwe had started the mining sector thematic working group under the ease of doing business. And the whole idea was to look at all those issues. So I was part of that, and we made quite a bit, some other colleagues here were also part of it. We made quite a bit of progress in terms of identifying all these issues that we are talking about, including what MMCZ is doing, export permits, etc., the whole lot, what's happening with the Corcosas, why are they not being able to register and get proper licenses, etc., etc. So all these things were identified. Of course, then there was some political change and the elections happened, and that process sort of got stopped. So my recommendation would be that that process should be restarted, because it was a multi-stakeholder process which was along with the government and the private sector and even other organizations, academics and others, where all the issues that you were talking about were put on the table They were discussed. Our secretariat was the Ministry of Mines. So we were looking at all these issues, and much of what you're saying has already been identified. It's a question of political will and implementation. So I think that it would be useful if some such forum is revived. Already such a forum has started in the Ministry of Agriculture to look at the same issues in the agricultural sector. So I would suggest that what we were doing in the mining sector should be revived, and again we should start that process with all the multi-stakeholders and see how far we can go to address those issues.
The issues that we are talking about here all center on how we manage our mineral resources. So basically the initiative calls for an institutional arrangement that will govern the framework in a particular country. There has to be, a multi-stakeholder group where the government should be involved, mining companies, civil society, and other interested parties. Basically, the framework calls for disclosure of licenses, for example. We want to know, or the public has interest in who owns the licenses. We have to understand who have the licenses in the gold sector or diamond or whatever. Who are the beneficiaries? They also want to know how the contracts are negotiated, because as Erina has highlighted, there's a lot of corruption that is going on. And even in Zimbabwe, we've read publicly that there's a lot of corruption that is taking place when it comes to contract deals that are opaque. So the system calls for a transparency in terms of how contracts are negotiated. It actually calls for competitive, bidding of contracts, rather than just hearing from the news that there's this company which is coming to mine either platinum or diamond, without us knowing, is this the best competitor or the best investor who's coming for this deal, and how, as Zimbabwe, to what extent are we benefiting from that deal? So at least with that framework, all the information will be publicly available.
What extent do we have political will, or are we moving towards even looking at our own homegrown within the region, like the Africa Mining Vision, because it does have some requirements on disclosure that we could possibly write on at the moment without going full throttle to the EITI if we are really skeptical around it. Then also maybe just on progress with the Mines and Minerals Bill, because I feel that we do have opportunity, even as the TSP already mentions that we need to make some reforms within the sector to also increase the transparency and accountability frameworks within that particular act. The last vision that I saw in 2017 did not even have a single word on transparency, transparency as a word, not even in terms of defining what it means. So to what extent can we, based on the new opportunity, to relook and revisit that bill? Can the ministry begin to integrate and incorporate some of these missing gaps so that we also strengthen the current framework without looking at a new model or a new framework or a new bill totally being introduced in Parliament? And I think it would also, for me, when I look at some of the parliamentary hearings, question and answer segments, I feel that it would also reduce the burden on ministerial officials and some stakeholders in terms of responding to Parliament if information is just there. Because a lot of those questions, when you look at what has been happening, is an issue around lack of information. I saw even the last one that the Agape State Governor was responding to, that it's also an issue related to lack of disclosure of information. If we had things out there in the open end, they would not have that unnecessary badgering that happens in Parliament. So why not just look at what is already existing and strengthen the current frameworks? Then I also felt that from Cornelia's presentation, we still have, I think, looking at Caledonia as a best practice example. And I'm cognizant of the fact that last year, I think, there was an issue around Simplats also reviewing its own contracts that it holds with government to its current mining leases.
When they initially submitted in 2018, our argument was on the interest rate. You see, an interest rate of 10% on a vendor loan is not right. If you check the historical analysis of the dividends, you realize that they will not be able to pay for the shareholding in the foreseeable future if they use 10% interest rate. So argument was, we had a policy that all vendor loans, the interest rate was supposed to be not more than 4% on that loan. It was merely there was a bookend transaction. There was no movement of money. It was just saying that Fremilo now owns 15%, but will pay us using your future dividends. So we are saying it was not a transaction where there was an actual movement of funds from offshore to Fremilo, but it was just a bookend transaction where Fremilo was now owning 16%. So our argument was it can't be 10% on a transaction which is just a book entry. And in terms of historical analysis of the dividends, you would see that if they use 10%, they will never pay for the shareholding until we don't know.
You need to have a proper market. And for a lot of minerals, as he says, there's no proper market. If you look at chrome, if you look at, not the big ones, diamonds of course we know now, but if you look at chrome, if you look at granite, if you look at semi-precious stones, there's no proper market. Now this is again was one of the recommendations of our thematic working group under OPC, that MMCZ should create a proper market. But in fact, they have not done anything to date. So all it is bilateral negotiations between buyers and MMCZ and people who are in the, like for instance in chrome, nobody has any idea. Somebody comes and says, I want to buy chrome, they give this price, MMCZ decides whether it's too or low, high or low. So this is not the right way to go about marketing of minerals. And for all these minerals, there needs to be a proper market like we have in the diamond sector now, which is openly there, and that will result in production and disclosure automatically coming up.